Now, I have the pleasure of introducing today's 3 keynote speakers, beginning with Elisha Harris, who graduated from the University of Texas at Austin in 2015 with a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology and Health and a minor in Psychology. She currently works at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago as a residency program coordinator for the Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery Residency Program. Now, outside of work and serving on our board of directors, Elisha enjoys traveling, riding her bike. I was told she was one of the folks that rode her bike, so she probably rides her bike in increments less than 1,800 miles at a time, let's hope, and exploring everything that the great city of Chicago has to offer. And folks, you might recognize her last name. Elisha is Jordan Harris's younger sister. Please help me welcome today's keynote speakers, starting with Elisha Harris.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Elisha Harris. I'm Jordan Harris's younger sister. And I had the privilege of being a part of the 2022 Light the Trail team. So I'm going to skip ahead to the very end of the ride when we rode into Audubon Park in New Orleans. The setting was perfect, and we had a huge crowd of people cheering us on. We got off our bikes and started to embrace each other on a job well done. And I started to cry. For a lot of reasons, but mostly because I was just genuinely sad that the ride was over. All right, maybe not so much the bike riding part was over, but I was sad to have to soon part ways with an incredible group of people. Most of us had been with each other nonstop for 2 weeks, and we formed an amazing bond. I told my mom that, in a way, it felt like summer camp was ending. There are so many memories of our team bonding, but some that stick out in my mind include all of us riders having to power through some really nasty headwinds on our way to Greenville, Mississippi, although some people made it look way too easy. Playing shuffleboard outside of Brainerd, Minnesota after a long day of riding. The Hillwood office in Memphis graciously hosting us and treating us to some delicious Memphis barbecue, but all of us secretly thinking to ourselves that Texas barbecue is still better. Speaking of food, Fraser Pergandy, who is amazing and oversaw our food truck, found these really tasty chocolate milk protein shakes that we all loved and would drink at the end of each leg of the ride to help replenish our sore muscles. And I think that's honestly what kept me going in those last 10 miles of a 50-mile ride. Now, I was one of the younger riders on the team. I think one of my favorite roles that I played was the designated IT person. We dealt with a decent amount of technology when we were navigating our routes each day, and some people needed a little extra guidance. But I was more than happy to help out where I could. I was already pretty used to taking on that role with my parents. But I think one of the main things that brought us the closest together were the ride fours. Prior to and during the ride, we asked people to submit stories about loved ones they lost to suicide. Each day, we would post those stories to Instagram and Facebook and dedicate our ride to one of those people. People like Matt Harbin, Susan Dufell, Charlie Stevenson, Leslie Culver, Jordan Harris, and the list goes on. We would gather each morning before we took off riding, and we would take turns reading the ride fours out loud. There usually wasn't a dry eye in the group by the time each one was finished. It was a time for us to reflect, to grieve, and to heal. Talking about my sister Jordan since she died in 2012 hasn't always been easy for me, especially with people that didn't know Jordan or haven't experienced a suicide of someone close to them. I remember I was in the car one day during the ride with Libby Harbin and Chris Culver on the way to one of our starting points. I remember how effortless it was to talk to them about Jordan because they too had experienced losing a loved one to suicide. I wish it could be that easy for everyone to talk about mental health, but I wish you didn't have to experience losing a sister, a son, or a wife to suicide in order to start talking about it. We shouldn't be afraid to say things like, "I'm not okay, and I need help." We shouldn't be afraid to honor and celebrate the lives of people we lost to suicide. We've got to get rid of this stigma surrounding suicide and mental health and make sure that suicide is never a choice. And I think we made some pretty amazing progress with this on our journey, but we've got to keep that momentum going. I'm hoping that everyone in this room and everyone watching online will help us continue that work. This ride taught me so many things. It's shown me a confidence in myself that I didn't know I had. I feel so honored and proud to have been part of Light the Trail 2022. It's an experience that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. Thank you, and I hope to see you on the next ride.